Yeah,
Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another action-packed Premier Division show. Once again, delighted to welcome Sean back onto the show. You're in red today, Sean.
yeah. Right today, I guess supporting the Saints in Europe or
Ah,
whatever excuse people want to come up with for why I'm wearing red today.
yeah, we'll go with that. Obviously, yeah,
Mm,
yeah. I think
Yeah,
Paul McGrath's on the back of that particular shirt, is it? Um,
yeah.
yeah, obviously. We'll start off with the most recent game we just watched. Actually, it was Galway United and Shamrock Rovers at Tallaght Stadium, where it
Mm,
finished Shamrock Rovers won, Galway United won. Shamrock Rovers now fifth in the table on 39 points.
mm,
Galway sixth in the table on 39 points, and obviously, Hickey scored with 15 minutes to go to give Galway
mm,
the lead. Danny Mandreva came on and
mm,
scored another goal, if you like, on his debut for
mm,
Shamrock Rovers with a brilliant header, actually. It was a brilliant leap
mm,
to beat Brendan Clark. And the first half of this game, I personally thought was quite lackluster, to be honest. Galway hit the
mm,
bar. Shamrock Rovers hit the bar. Jack Byrne hit the bar. Keohane for Galway. Rovers had most of the possession, as you would expect, but they were very slow and a bit lackluster and lethargic, in my opinion. And that was quite easy for Galway actually to defend because we know how they defend generally.
mm,
So I think half time 0-0, probably fair enough. Second half, I think Rovers up the tempo a bit. Certainly at the start of the second
mm,
half, had a couple of chances. Ferrugia came on, he had a good chance too. But Galway came back into it again and eventually did score. Good play from Walsh to find Hickey, and his strike was actually brilliant. It was a low driven strike
mm.
past the poles and goal, and it looked like Galway might go on and get the 3 points, but that man Danny Mandreu had other ideas. And when he was here last, actually, particularly with Shamrock Rovers, he'd a habit of nicking late goals, be it winners or equalisers, and
Mm.
he's done it again. And ultimately, we'll talk about Shamrock Rovers first. Ultimately, from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, it's a result for me that surely has to confirm they're not winning the title this season. Like, there's no chance at this point. I mean, they're 10 points. I know the two games in hand with Derry City, but as I said, I think in the
Mm,
previous show, they failed to take advantage last time against Drogheda when they drew at home
mm.
after Derry and Shels had dropped points. So, like, they're not constructing anything. They're not playing well enough. And frankly, I think they've kind of given up on the thought myself looking at them, to be honest. What did you
Mm.
think overall from their point of view?
Yeah, well, I thought if they'd have won tonight, maybe they would have been in with a chance. But yeah, losing tonight or not, drawing tonight, not picking up the 3 points really killed them. Thought the longer the game went on with 0-0, the worse it was for Rovers because Galway will sit back all day, and the goal they took really well. Hickey scored. It's a really good strike. I mean, for someone who's supposedly a centre half, like he scores a lot of goals for Galway, and really inspired signing. But yeah, it is very interesting because I mean we're going to talk about it later. Like there's no team that looks certain to win the league at the moment, but it's a long way back for Rovers at the moment, and they've got Europe coming up. I know Bradley in the past has prioritized the league over Europe, but there's speculation about is he going to be here next year. So maybe if he thinks this is his last hurrah, he might even prioritize Europe over the league at the moment. So yeah, very interesting. I did think Rovers would have to win this game to be in with a chance at the league. So I'd agree with you. Yeah, that this is probably writing it off now.
Mm.
And the best Rovers can hope for in the league is to qualify for Europe again, finish in the top four, and hope Derry or Shels win the cup.
Mm. Like, they're still only a point behind Waterford with two games in hand, so they're
Mm,
probably still at this minute in time fancy themselves in terms of top three. But from
mm,
Galway's point of view, with 2 minutes to go, roughly, obviously there was stoppage time. They were actually third
mm,
in the league, so the draw knocks them
mm,
down to sixth, if you like.
mm,
They'd be happy with the way they went around about their business,
mm,
making it difficult for Rovers, nearly nicking it, but a little bit disappointed maybe. I know Caulfield
mm,
and Horgan will be very disappointed they conceded actually from a
yeah.
set piece, to be honest with you.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, look, when you're that late into the game and you're leading, it's always disappointing when you concede, when you don't get the 3 points. It's a good result and probably a fair result, I think, on the balance of play. I don't think either team really deserved to win it on the night. I think a draw is definitely the fairest result. But yeah, I mean, speaking from a Waterford perspective, it was a great result for us because it meant neither team went ahead of us. But yeah, Galway would be very, very disappointed. They've still got the game at hand
Mm.
on Waterford, actually, so there's plenty of time for that to rectify itself. But yeah, they would have liked to have been third tonight. Yeah, always disappointing to concede late on. I think when you're, regardless of who you're playing, where you are, when you're in that position, you want to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to Friday night, and there was that, I suppose, shocking result from Weavers Park where Drogheda United beat Sligo
Mm.
Rovers by 7 goals to nil. Just give me an error while I call out the goal scores. James Taylor, Quinn, Pirro with 2, Kane, Owie, and Foley with the goals for Drogheda United. And this was a game I didn't see live. I've spoken to a lot of Drogheda fans,
Mm.
actually, a lot of Sligo Rovers fans. Something I try to do, actually, when you only get to see the highlights, Sean, is just to get a
Yeah.
gauge about what might have happened on that from specific
Mm.
fans a lot of the time. And, you know, the general consensus is Drogheda were 3 up at half time. It flattered them a little bit. But the general consensus also was from both set of fans was that Drogheda played brilliant football in the second half, but Galway, Sligo Rovers threw in the towel, and that's
Mm.
something that the fans would see as highly unacceptable. And there's been a lot of fallout
Mm.
from that, but you know, bizarrely, they're still in a good position in the table despite this result. Like, you know, they could beat Waterford on Friday at home and go up to third, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So, but
Yeah.
from Drogheda's point of view, first of all, like,
Mm.
what a result that is. I mean, I was talking to JP in the show leading up to this,
Mm.
talking about the battle at the bottom, and I was saying how
Mm.
Drogheda suddenly have a lot of goals in their team, but that's
Mm.
ridiculous. Like, that
Yeah.
wasn't the point I was making.
Mm.
I wasn't predicting the 7-0, but God, by
Yeah.
God, like, what a result for them. I think their turnaround is they're off the bottom now, obviously, but it's a
Yeah.
massive thing to be able to say can score goals. Like, forget about 7 for a minute. It's one of those almost like a freak result in a way as well. If they play next week,
Mm.
it wouldn't be 7-0 to Drogheda, let's be real. But
Mm.
the addition of James Taylor coming in as their top scorer, it's freed up Pirro, who's now scoring as well. So now suddenly now
Mm.
you've gone from no striker scoring to 2 strikers capable of getting goals, which is huge. They've gone back to this
Mm.
back three system that always seems to serve Drogheda well.
Mm.
Connor Kane, left wing back, is playing unbelievable football. Owie now is
Mm.
the right wing back. You've got Shane Farrell in there playing well. You know, Foley can get a goal, and it's the momentum is a huge thing, and you know,
Mm.
Drogheda fans be looking at it and you know, not getting too excited probably, but at the same time, for me looking in, like, you know, they're giving themselves one hell of a chance here, aren't they? And it's an unbelievable result.
Mm. I think definitely they're gonna stay up now. I think
Curse
it's
them.
yeah, the Irish Footy Vlogs curse, yeah. But no, I mean, look, but I don't know if any amount of fan insight could explain that result. It was really freakish, like, because Sligo were on it. Sligo were going well as well. You know, I mean, like they've just beaten Shelbourne recently, and they're in fourth place. They're well in the race for Europe, and it's not like they have nothing to
Totally in
play for.
form, weren't they? I know they lost
Totally
a
in
cup game
form.
to UCD, but in the league they've been totally
There's a
serious form.
conspiracy. There's a conspiracy going around that they're trying to send Dundalk down because, of course, they beat Dundalk 5-0 earlier on in the season, and now they've lost 7-0. To speak about it from just Drogheda perspective for a minute, I mean, the 3 points is massive, but I think even more massive is the goal difference because, like, that's a 7 goal swing. They now have a better goal difference, definitely than Dundalk, but also I think now, I could be wrong with this, but I think they have a better goal difference than Bows at the moment as well. So if
They're
it
actually
comes
the
down to
third
that,
highest scorers in the league, Sean.
yeah, they were. I can imagine that because they conceded in clusters a lot, particularly before they made the signings in mid-season. They used to concede
Oh,
in
sorry,
clusters
just
a
to go
lot.
across, Bows actually do have a better goal difference, actually, but they've a +4 on Dundalk, which is a big thing.
Well, it's huge. It could come down to that. You know, if it is 9th and 10th, it could come down to that at the end of the season. It's absolutely massive. And then talking about Sligo, equally massive. You know, they have every other team in the top six has a positive goal difference now, except for them. It's a massive swing, and you know, you're talking about again, like the race for Europe is so tight. It could come down to that, and you're going to look at this game. You know, I think you could almost forget about even, you know, the penalty decision for Pats. Like, you know, you could look at this and say, like, well, we shouldn't have lost 7-0. Like, you know, that's totally unacceptable. There'd be a lot of head scratching going on. Like, I can't imagine what went on. You
I
can
think what happened was
use
the comments of the assistant manager there. Obviously, John Russell suspended, so he couldn't comment after the game.
yeah.
He's the thing that seemed to be annoying him was the fact that yes, there were 3 down at half time. It can happen in a football match, but I don't think he was happy with the reaction at half time in the second half. You expect your team to go out and at least, you know, the old saying, if you're getting well beat at half time, is try and win the second half. But gee, they seem to, according to him, they seem to just completely give up. And look, you have to give credit to Drogheda as well. But usually, when you see a funny result like this, it's both ways. One team is horrendous, and the other team is very, very good. So it's usually a twofold scenario, isn't it? Especially in this particular league, like you know.
Well, it doesn't bode well for Sligo. I mean, if that's the reaction to being 3-0 down at half time, this is a game. You know, okay, like fair enough, 3-0 is a lot to come back from, like, but you're really in the race for Europe. You know, I mean, I suppose the only thing I'll say is the players did go over to the fans at the end, which I suppose, like, fair enough. You know, probably got a bit of. I mean, like, if I was in the fans, like, yeah, probably would have given a bit of a bollocking. But like, you know, look, they went over, and that takes some courage. I'm still not looking forward to playing them next Saturday, I think it is, in the showgrounds. I think they'll still give us a good game. This is just a freak result, but yeah, if you're a Sligo Rovers fan, you'd be really worried. And you know, I mean, this is how do you explain? Like, you know, this is surreal stuff, you know.
Look, it's how they react, and even John Russell came out with a statement as well, which is a good statement actually. Check it out, guys, at home, and it's on the Sligo Rovers website, etc. But a lot in it, and apologises to the fans, but just saying like that. You know, it's actually the youngest side in the league as well, and he wasn't excusing them, but he was kind of doing a bit of both, to be honest. He was criticising them, but at the same time saying they have done really well this season as well. So, but now it's how they react, basically, and he's right. It's how they react on Saturday, which is huge.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's funny enough, like, we got beaten 7-0 by Drogheda a couple of seasons back. It was during COVID. Now, our first team, our first team was had all had COVID at that time. You know, look, it's a massive test of character, massive test of character for a young side. As I said, I think there will be a reaction. If you're Waterford, you're gonna sense a little bit of weakness, maybe a little bit of fragility, but you have to be prepared, particularly in those opening at least 20 minutes, for an almighty response to Friday night's result. So yeah, I mean, I still think Sligo are gonna. I think Sligo will forget about this. I think they'll push on, but you know, you can't. It is a massive impact that this result has had, I think, on the race for Europe.
Yeah, this is actually only the fourth time that a bottom team has won by 7 goals, and one of them was Sligo Rovers before as well. Waterford FC actually beat Bray by 8 goals to 1, 1934-35 season. Shamrock Rovers beat Sligo Rovers 7-0 in the 67-68 season. And Galway United beat Monaghan United 2001-2002, 8-0. That was a mad result.
Actually, interestingly, on the stats there, Drogheda have scored 16 goals in their last 2 games. Pretty good going.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a Wilton player, I'm saying, well, look, they put 7 past Sligo, so you know what I mean, to be fair. Moving on, and Shelbourne drew 1-1 with Bohemians at Tolka Park. Danny Grant's goal in 12 minutes was cancelled out by Ali Coote's goal against his former club on 14 minutes. And, you know, Shelbourne now have gone 4 league games without a win, Sean. You could kind of throw it to 5 in the cup in a sense, in terms of they drew the 90-minute game against Galway United. They are struggling at the moment, I have to say. I've seen them quite a bit recently. For Bows, technically a good result, but it's still 1 win in 15 games for Bows. So you're kind of looking at them going, you need to get results. But yeah, I mean, Grant's goal was good, by the way, but I thought it was poor defending. Actually, Barr struggled to get across as well. Kyle was afraid he was going to foul him, I think, to be fair. But Barr doesn't get across either. But Grant does well, cuts in. And I have to say, Grant, that's throughout the games kind of like the Danny Grant of old, to be honest. The first time I've really seen that. He was superb for Bows. Ali Coote's goal in 14 minutes was well taken from him, but poor play from Treska, I thought. He just came into no man's land and not really sure what he was trying to do, because there's no way the ball was going to go through to him. And then as soon as the Bows defender makes an error, you know, Coote has a lot to do. He does have a lot to do, but the keeper gives him the opportunity by being so far off his line, doesn't he? That was disappointing from their point of view to concede so quickly. But Shels, they're definitely stuttering at the moment, Sean. They're now second in the league. They have a game in hand, but they're level with Derry, but second in the league in terms of goal difference. Big goal difference swing there, 7 goals as well. but definitely stuttering. I don't know. There's a couple of things. I think they're starting to run out of steam a little bit. That's what I see when I see them play. There's a couple of system things as well. I think Harry Wood's playing the left wing against Bowes, for example, at the weekend. I don't think Harry Wood has the appetite to get back and help his fullback, let's say. For me, he's either a central player or not, like, you know, that kind of way. So I think they were left exposed by some players that maybe weren't getting back into the position to help out either the defence or the midfield. Lunny was a little bit nervous to get out and help Gannon, who was exposed by Grant in the game as well. Sometimes Lunny kind of cuts across and does that. But you had Tierney, Devoy, and McDonald in the middle of the park. So if Lunny did that, then they were badly exposed in the middle of the park. So systematically, there was something missing there as well, I felt, for Shels, and Bowes tried to take advantage of it. I have to say, in the second half, if anyone looked like they were going to win the game, it was Bowes. And the more the game went on, the kind of worse Shels got, which is a concern, actually. Maybe as well in terms of the theory of looking a bit leggy. Because Shels, let's be honest, Shels are overachieving massively by being in this position. And I think they're the type of team that have to be full on energy every single time they go out on the pitch. Do you know that kind of way? And if they can't do that, they don't look the same team. For Bowes, as I said, decent performance. They usually do that in Dublin derbies, but they're a little bit disappointed. Maybe they didn't nick it in the second half. Thoughts overall?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Actually, it was the best I've seen Bowes play in a while. Best I've seen Bowes play in a long while.
They haven't won since May, just to throw it out there, which was a game against Sligo Rovers at the Showgrounds.
Yeah. So like best I've seen him play in a while, and going into this game, it's a Dublin derby. Maybe form goes out the window a little bit, but I still think, you know, you're going up against a team that's top of the table, and I think as well. So first of all, I mean, the goal that Taraska concedes. I mean, first of all, I think you have to trust your defenders. There's three of them around the ball. I have to trust that one of them is going to get there. It didn't look to me like there was any immediate danger for him for him to be flying off his line that early. Really uncharacteristic for him. I mean, he's been great for Bowes this season, but you know, look, it's a bad mistake from him, and especially concede like 2 minutes after they momentum that they maybe could have had dissipated a little. But to be fair to them, you know, they rallied. And as you said, if there was one team that was going to win the game, it was probably going to be Bowes. I thought you asked me 2 weeks ago, I think, as well, this question, that did I think Shels were stuttering, and I couldn't see this happening, and now I'm ready to change my answer, because I think this was a really bad performance and result. I mean, and now what's changed as well is that they're off the top of the table for the first time in, I mean, I would be very certain to say months. First time they've been off the top of the table. And they have a game at hand on Derry.
And it's against Bowes at Paleyman Park, so you wouldn't know what way that go.
It's yeah. So like, you always want. I think you always want points on the table.
Plus, there's a couple of games to go until we get to that point, Sean. So we don't know where Derry could be 3 ahead or 3 behind by the time.
You always want points on the board, though. Like, you know, if you've had, say, a game where played and you're 3 points ahead, like, you know, that it puts pressure on the team that has to go out and play and has to go out and perform. So it is interesting, because, you know, you talk about it's very wide open. I mean, except for the points totals, that is. I mean, I guess if you're looking for the points total position, there's only 2 teams really can win it. But neither of them, I don't trust either of them to say run the table to win every game from now until the end of the season. So it'll be very interesting. I thought Shels might do it, but they're showing weaknesses now that I haven't maybe seen in the first half of the season. So I'm definitely not. It's going to be very interesting to see. And I said maybe I was ready to crown Shels winners earlier on in the season. Not so sure now. It could come down to a coin toss, or it could come down to that game at the end of the season in the Brandywell on November the 1st.
Interesting, yeah. At the RSC, you were at this game, actually. We finished Waterford FC 0, Derry City 1, Ben Doherty's goal in 16 minutes, and you're at the game, so I'll let you talk about it, but you have to talk about that goal first of all.
I don't like to unload on one player, but like Lewis Jones, I mean, God, he's as bad as Pitaluga or Shelby or
Is that
any
an
one of them
OG,
lads you want to
actually?
pick out.
Is that an OG, really?
it is because it's not going in; it's curling away, and he
Mm,
actually catches it into the net.
mm, mm.
Um, I thought from where I was sitting that it didn't cross the line. I was a little bit surprised it was given, but you look at the reaction of the defenders around them. That says everything. They didn't
Was it
protest. They
Grant
didn't go up
Horton?
to the
Was
referee.
it Grant Horton's reaction? Who was that? Was it Grant Horton? I was looking at him.
It probably was. It was Grant
Yeah,
Horton in particular
and
because
he went like that
he had
straight
the best
away
view
to
of it.
suggest,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Before the linesman even raised his flag, before the linesman even raised his flag, he went like that. And I have to say, it's very disappointing because I didn't think there was much in it. I think you go into the last 20 minutes of that game and it's 0-0. Anything could happen. And I pegged this as a game we could win, particularly with the results going the way they did in other games. That I think if we'd have won this game, I would have put us in the title race. But it is what it is now. Like I have to question the judgment of the management team that kept putting him in there, knowing that he was going to make these mistakes because there was clear warning signs earlier on in the game that something like this was going to happen. There was another cross came in, and he was under no pressure whatsoever to catch it, and he sort of put his hands up like this and sort of flapped at it.
yeah. In
Chaos in
fairness,
the box then.
Sargent has been quite solid. And he's missing for a few
Yeah,
weeks. But they do have Matt Connor there, who's
they do,
steady
and I have
Eddie.
to wonder. Yeah, look. I mean, look. Okay, he's not as good as Sam Sargent, like, but I
No,
guarantee you, he would not have made that mistake. Like we've seen Matt Connor before, he wouldn't make that mistake. He wouldn't have made the mistake that was made up above in Drogheda in the first game. You know, you're looking at that. If you turn those games around, like you win. Let's say you win both of those games. You're talking about a 6 point swing, and the mistakes that like the result is like okay, you can talk about say for the final 30 minutes then the game changed dramatically and Derry were in control for those 30 minutes because our shape had to change entirely to go and chase the game. And Derry did well. Wisdom actually had a very solid first game for Derry, I thought, in defence, and they managed the game quite well in midfield.
mm. One of their
Um,
other new signs came on. Did he? Sean Robertson as well
yeah,
came on. Did he? Yeah.
Robertson, he had a bit about him, all right. He wasn't on for very long, but he had a bit about him, so he looks like he could be a good signing as well. But yeah, very like because it's an even game. Both sides
Mm-hmm.
hit the post in the game. I thought, but when we had to really chase the game, then we were a bit lacking in front of goal. I thought playing the final third wasn't as good as it could have been, but our defense played very well. They must be disheartened because Jones didn't have a save to make in the whole game, and we still conceded. Very disheartened after that. Like very, very disheartened because the players definitely wanted it. They went out there. They weren't afraid. It was definitely the best. Like, because we've played 3 games against Derry this season before this and played
Mm.
terribly in all of them. If I'm honest, this game I thought we played much better. We were very, very poor. We were very poor in the first 3. Great in this one, I thought. Deserved at least a draw out of it, but it's a mistake that was the difference. And when we made that mistake, then I knew we were going to lose because
Mm.
Derry just handled the game much better than us. Then at that point, we lost our shape in midfield, and yeah, it's a tough one to take. Mm.
Mm. It's a massive 3 points for Derry City, though, isn't it?
They go top of the table with this for the first time, and I've said before, I've cast a little bit of doubt, but you're top of the table now. On top of the table now, and it okay, Shels do have that game at hand, but they're starting to show signs too. And every other team, okay, let's say Rovers win their games at hand, like this will be 4 points behind. So there's a very you have to acknowledge that Derry have a very very real chance. It's difficult to say who's maybe the favourites, but I'd say I don't know. I give them maybe like a 45% chance now at the moment. Like maybe Shell's the other 45%, the 10% not really sure slash others. So I'd say this is as good a chance as Derry have had to be this close to the top this late on in the season. It's good. And as I said, look, for the first 60 minutes it was an even game, but when we changed our shape, Derry really showed their class. And
Mm.
the players who brought off the bench did look quite good. We had maybe one chance in the game, I thought, where we could have scored, but it's as good a chance as they're going to get. I'll be very interested to see if this is the year where they finally hold it together and get over the line. Maybe it'll be by 1 point, maybe it'll be by 5, but this is as good a chance and a really, really good result. Again, yeah, like, I mean, invaluable 3 points.
Obviously, there was supposed to be another game, Dundalk and St. Patrick's Athletic on the
Mm.
Sunday. The FAI called it off. Just get your thoughts on that, Sean. It obviously,
Mm.
they called it off. John Daly complained, to be
Mm.
fair. He said to call
Yeah.
the game off 46 hours before
Mm.
it is due to get underway is farcical. I think it shows that
Mm.
if you make enough noise and apply pressure in the right areas, you could clearly get your way.
Mm.
He says the reasons that the FAI have outlined for postponing the game were as relevant last Thursday when St. Patrick's qualified for the playoff round as
Mm.
they are today. A decision
Mm.
could easily have been made at that point to postpone the game. Your thoughts
Mm.
overall on the whole thing?
Well, the decision wasn't. It couldn't have been easily made because the difference is, say, compare Rovers game where they lost 4-0 to PAOK, and compare that to Pats drawing 0-0. They have a real chance of going through now. So I think it was the correct call. I can understand Dundalk's frustration because I think if the game went ahead, like, I mean, Kenny said he was going to play the under-17s. I think even if he'd have played the senior team, Dundalk would have
I
won
think
that
he was
game.
bluffing there, to be honest with you. But
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
because the past players are simply past players to think about Istanbul at the moment. Like they're not going to be up for it. They wouldn't have been up for that game.
I think it's a
So
fact,
yeah,
Sean, that obviously the Turkish Federation called off Istanbul
mm,
Başakşehir's game, and you're just thinking about
yeah,
it from a League of Ireland standpoint. Generally,
yeah,
it's a playoff round, and if
mm,
we as a league have any chance to
mm,
go into that tie, let's say second leg, with
mm,
less
yeah,
preparation than a
mm,
team of that caliber, I mean, you're
yeah,
really pissing it into the wind, I think, there a little bit as well. And you have to give our clubs the best opportunity. I think in
mm,
the playoff round, you have to give them the best opportunity, no
yeah,
matter who the club is. And Pats could go
yeah,
on and lose 2 or 3-0 in the second
mm,
leg, and people start making noises and say, Asher, why
yeah,
did they bother calling off the game Sunday? It's not really the
yeah,
point, though, is it? The point is to
mm,
give them the best opportunity. And you don't want loads of
yeah,
games called off. But
mm,
I just think, particularly for the playoff round,
mm,
I think it has to be called
mm,
off, in my personal
yeah,
opinion. Now, I do agree with Daly to some degree that maybe they could have called it off earlier, but they've clearly waited to see what the result would be in the first
yeah,
leg, the FAI, haven't they?
yeah. Yeah, I can understand Daly's frustration, but I
Yeah.
think, like, he's it's kind of sour grapes, isn't it? Like he's looking at it from his perspective. As I said,
Mm.
they probably would have won the game if it had gone ahead today.
Mm.
But I think, look, you've got, even up north, like, let's say Larne have got 4 games called off ahead of their playoff against Lincoln going into this week. There's not an association that wouldn't do this for their clubs.
Mm.
Not like maybe one of the big, like England or Italy or whatever,
Maybe
might
the
might do
problem
this.
is, Sean, again, when you look at the whole thing, strip the whole thing back, is communication everywhere. It's the communication aspect,
Yeah.
maybe, from the FAI,
Mm.
etc. That always seems to be messy, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe, but I still think in
Mm.
this case it's probably, maybe they could have called it off on the Thursday night. Maybe they just could have said after, like, immediately after full time, okay, that's
Mm.
it.
Mm.
But I
Or at
think
least
that's
giving
about it.
Dundalk an indication. Although maybe they did, for all we know, we don't know. But
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
guessing they
I
didn't.
I think, yeah, I think, like, I mean, because I think, at least I was definitely thinking that this game, like, you don't want to call off the game, so you want to wait to see, are they going to have a chance at getting
Mm.
through, which is why Rovers didn't get their game called off,
Mm.
for instance, because, like, the
Mm.
Thursday is basically a dead rubber now
Mm. And plus,
for
Pat's
them.
game is on Wednesday as well, which does make a bit of a difference,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it does make a bit of a difference
Mm.
too. But I mean, the main thing is, like, if they'd a lot, if Pats had lost like 5-0 in the first leg, like, this game would have gone ahead.
Mm. Absolutely.
And look, yeah, I think, as well as that, you say, yeah, like, some people will say, if Pats do go on to lose this game, why did they get the game off? We didn't know that. Like, it's 0-0. Kenny has experience at this level. I remember him going away to Legia Warsaw with Dundalk in the playoff round of the Champions League, being 2-0 down and, like, coming to within inches of uh, reversing that tie. I
Mm.
think Pats are definitely capable. It's a one-off game. There is a gap between teams. I mean, Istanbul, Başakşehir, by the way, have, I think, beaten Manchester United in recent years, European competition. This is serious. This is serious stuff. This would be a hell of a scalp if Pats were able to claim it. So you got to give them the best possible chance. And I would too. I think whatever it is about Kenny, he's savvy at this level.
Mm.
He's about the most experienced manager you could get.
Mm.
And as well as that, I'd be looking at it from
50,
our perspective.
51 games, I think he's managed in Europe.
Yeah. So, like, that has to be one of the highest totals for any League of Ireland manager in Europe at
Yeah.
this stage. And I think, as well as that, thinking from our perspective as well, like, I think if Pats get into the Conference League group stages, you can write them off for everything else. Like, they'll play well. They won't lie down like, but it's a long way to go. It's a long way to go for, say, even European
Mm.
qualification. So I
I
think,
think you can nearly write them off of that anyway. It's just the league season's been
mm,
messy. It's kind of gone in that sense, if you know what I mean.
it has. And I mean, I don't think Kenny would be judged on that. But if he gets him into the group stage, like, or league stage now as it is, it's after changing again. But yeah, it'll be massive for them. It'll be a huge achievement. And of course, there's a lot of money in it for them as well. Like, definitely, probably more valuable for them than if they were to try and like put all the resources into qualifying for Europe again. If they get in this time, I mean, they're going to get. I think it's 1 million they get for qualifying for the group stage alone, and that doesn't factor in gate receipts or TV money or the money you get for winning a game in the league stage or whatever. So it's going to be huge. And of course, look, I wish them the best of luck. I hope they do it because it's great for the league.
Brilliant, Sean. We'll leave it there. Thanks for coming on as usual. People at home, give us your opinions. If you're a Dundalk fan, what did you think about the game being called off, etc., etc. And subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching.